Hello everyone, welcome to this micro lesson. Today we are going to explore linking words of contrast, an important resource in English that helps us connect ideas in a clear and effective way. These connectors are especially useful in both spoken and written English, particularly in academic contexts. What are they? Linking word of contrast are grammatical connectors used to link two ideas that show a difference, a contradiction, or an unexpected result. In other words, they help you spread situations where two ideas do not logically match, or where one idea contrasts with the other. It is important to note that English contains many linking word contrasts. So, the table shows all the existing connectors for forming complete sentences. However, due to time limitations, in this lesson we will focus on 5 of the most common and useful ones. These are but, although, or even though. However, on the other hand, in various, these connectors are frequently used in everyday communication as well as in academic writing. Let's begin with a simple examples. I was tired, but I finished my assignment. In this sentence, we observed a contrast between expectation and reality. Normally, if someone is tired, we expect him to stop working. However, in this case, the person continues and completes the task. Let's load out more samples in context. She studied a lot, but she failed the exam. This shows a contrast between effort and result. Although it was raining, they continued playing soccer. Here, the weather should stop, but the action continues. The restaurant is expensive, however, it is always full. This example contrasts price with the popularity. Now, let's look at two additional connectors that are slightly more formal. On the other hand, it used to introduce an alternative or constructive perspective. For example, living in the city is exciting. On the other hand, it can be stressful. Whereas is used to directly compare two contrasting characteristics. For example, she is very outgoing, whereas her brother is shy. Structure. Understanding structure is essential when using text connector correctly, but connects two independent clauses in a simple way. Although and avant introduce dependent clause, usually at the beginning of the sentence. However, is more formal and is often used between two sentences or after a semicolon. On the other hand, is typically used the present as second constructing idea, and whereas directly links to constructing elements within the same sentence. And now it is time to practice. In the first activity, you will choose the correct linking word of contrast to complete the sentence. In the second activity, you will reorder the words to one correct sentence using linking word of contrast. Pay attention to word order and sentence and structure. In this first activity, they will write their name and begin to answer. Let's start. I was tired. A, B, on C. I finished my homework. I was tired, but I finished my homework. I thought it was raining very hard, and I suffered. What do you will do in this second activity is to correctly order the sentence using the construct connector. I finished. I was tired, but I finished my homework. And so on, they solve the others 1v1. Conclude, linking word of contrast are essential tools for expressing difference and contradiction between ideas. They allow speakers and writers to communicate more clearly, especially in academic and formal contexts. In this lesson, we focus on 5K connector, but although, however, on the other hand, in various. I encourage you to practice these structures in your one sentence. Thank you for your watching.